Good morning, class. Wow, week 7. Can you believe week 7 is already here? My week 6 video had to do with sort of a generic or a basic overview of the history of firearms, going back to the Civil War, Revolutionary War, all the way up to the present. And my week 7 video, I would like to do or perform or illustrate to you the 4 basic rules of handgun safety. And before I do that, I just like to give you a quick background. I have been a NRA member since about 1977 up till now. That might give away my age a little bit, but that's okay. And I also was a security police officer when I first started out active duty Navy up overseas in Keflavik, Iceland, excuse me. And I've been a card carrying member as far as concealed carry handgun for the past about a dozen years or so. I like to be prepared. I like to keep my family safe. I like to keep my possessions safe, my home safe, my own person safe. I am not frightened in any way. I'd rather be prepared. End of story. So my first cardinal rule, and there are many cardinal rules of handgun safety, but the first cardinal rule of handgun safety is always be aware that a handgun is always loaded. Just, you don't want to assume it. You want to say and have it ingrained in your head that this handgun is always loaded. Even though I have taken out the clip, and to find out if it's safe and if it's not loaded, you would pull the slide or the action back. I happen to be left-handed, so this is a little awkward for me. And the first thing you would do is you would look down the chamber and even put your finger in there. But that's not necessary, but it's a very good precaution. And you could tell that there was no bullet inside there. So if you would always do that and have that ingrained in your head, that would always, you have a little peace of mind that the handgun is not loaded, but always assume the handgun is loaded, always. And the second one of handgun safety, the four cardinal rules of handgun safety, is never point a handgun at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy. Now, by what that means is, if you were to take this handgun and point it at anything in particular, and just pretend that this has a laser at the end, okay, which this does. If I press this particular button, this is a laser sight. And if I would point this, I'm not going to point it at the camera because that would be very uncomfortable for you. And I point this, and while you're pointing it, you're pretty much pointing at something that's already shot at, because you don't want to point a handgun ever again at something you're not willing to destroy or shoot. Now, handguns in general, you know, the safety factor, if I have a holster, okay, I know that my handgun, I happen to have a holster right here where I carry my concealed carry, and I know that that's basically safe. Or if you have it in a wall safe, that's basically safe. But as soon as you take it out of your holster, you always want to assume that handgun is loaded, and never point it at anything or anyone you're not willing to destroy or shoot. And thirdly, you see in the movies, in Hollywood movies, or Hollywood actors, or even even politicians, they will have their hand or finger right there on the trigger. Never have your finger on the trigger ever, until you have that pointed at a particular target or what have you that you're willing to kill or destroy. always want to have your finger laid across the barrel of the gun or the slide of the gun, as you see here. And if you point it and you're ready to fire, then only then will you put your finger on the trigger and ready to, in most people's cases, or in my case, I'm ready to defend myself at all costs. For any intruders that come into my home, or threaten my wife, my daughter, my household, or what have you. So never have your finger on the trigger until you're ready to, unfortunately, but God forbid, you're ready to shoot that particular target. And for instance, excuse me, for instance, it's, say something happens in the middle of the night, and you always want to be aware that you don't want to be just shooting at silhouettes. So it's a good thing to have a light with you or what have you to make sure there's nothing else around. And the fourth out of four very critical basic handgun rules is always make sure that there's nothing beyond the target that you're shooting at. That means if you were, something, God forbid, again, would have happened, and you were to shoot, point, put your finger on the trigger and point, who knows what's behind that particular target or person or persons, because bullets can go right through an individual or a wall or what have you, and behind that wall or behind that individual, who knows what's behind there? You don't know what's behind there. So you have to be well aware of what is beyond that target. So I'm going to go through the recap the four basic rules of handgun safety. Again, there are various rules, excuse me, but they're the basic four. And of course, the first one is always make sure it is not loaded, but treat a handgun as it is always loaded. Never point a gun at anything or anyone that you're not willing to kill or destroy. Number three is never put your finger on a trigger, okay, unless you're on target and willing to shoot that target at that target. And number four is make sure you know what is beyond that target, okay, because something can go through. Full metal jackets rounds are made to go through things versus blunt rounds where they stop and make a pretty good impact. So those are the four basic rules. I hope that you adhere to them if you have your license or decide to acquire a license. So those are the four basic rules of handgun safety. I hope you enjoyed my demonstration. Again, my name is Tom Morrill. This is week 7 of my public speaking video, and thank you very much for listening to me, and I really hope you learned something, because I think it would be a good thing for people to learn these particular four basic rules. Thank you.